Hello, ma'am, sir. This is today's story. I remember earlier this year I bought a new air conditioner. The salesman told me it was 17,000 pesos, including installation. I knew it was too good to be true, so I had the guy put the quote in writing. Anyway, when the installer guy came, he informed my wife that installation meant just mounting it onto the wall, not actually hooking up the electrical part of which I'd pay an additional 7,000 pesos for. I told her to tell him to get lost. The salesman messaged me and I told him you said installation, not half installation. It got heated and he told me to come back to the store. I was ready to do battle, but my wife informed me that he just wanted to record me being angry so he could upload on social media and play the victim. There was another incident where this Filipino hit this Aussie guy's car, cursed him, then had the audacity to record and upload a small portion of the incident to social media, and of course, the local populace believed him. Passive aggressiveness is common throughout Asia, is part of the culture, but some Filipinos take it to a whole other level. So please, avoid showing public outrage no matter how much they provoke you. These are two good examples of situations where if someone is not aware of Filipino Pinoy culture, they might get into some serious trouble. Baby Buddha says, if you cause them to lose face, then they can play victim or justify retaliation against you. But that doesn't mean they can get away with doing you harm just because they lost face. It's true, it doesn't mean they should, but they do. You all know, if you lived in the Philippines, Filipino culture is basically mob mentality. They all gang up on you. It's never a fair fight. They speak in their own language, they blame you, they play the victim any way to get away from the situation. In essence, they are cowards. Most of these men have never been taught how to deal with situations like mature adults, because we all know that is something that is definitely a characteristic of the Pinoy peoples. Road 22 shares his story. I remember my first trip to the Philippines. I was sitting outside a cafe area and an American was getting cash out of his wallet to pay and left his wallet on the table. A young Filipino, maybe 18, reached over the small metal fence from the street and took his wallet and ran. The American was fast and chased him down and took his wallet back and punched him in the face a few times. A few days later, the same kid came up from behind the American while he was eating at the cafe and therefore ending his being. Insulting or hitting a person in public is very dangerous in the Philippines. They do not fight like men, not at all. Scarcity says, never, never show your anger. You're the foreigner. All eyes are on you and your behavior. If you're labeled as angry or hot-headed or mayabang, everyone will know it. Your reputation will precede you, and you will be taxed for it immensely. Sirius Percobron says, I realized no point in getting mad when they pull something. I let my wife handle it because I know if I do, two things can happen. One, the cops come and I am accused of something. Two, the person comes back and tries to end me because his ego is bruised. I always remember about an event in 2017. Young kids sees an old guy trying to take advantage of a girl. The kid kicks the old guy and saves the girl. The old guy's ego is bruised, makes a call that the kid's selling narcotics, and not too long after the call, the kid is taken back somewhere and taken care of by two cops. These stories I bring to you to allow you to understand the reality of living in the Philippines. Does this happen to every single foreigner? Of course not. It does not. I'm here to tell you that it's not just everything that other expat vloggers tell you it is all just paradise. Like every other country, the Philippines has some serious downfalls and the culture here does not help the situation. Travel the World 86 shares his thoughts by saying, "This is quite common in the Philippines. People love to tell you one thing, and it's simply never like that. For instance, I was eating with my sister that is vegan. We asked them if they could bring nachos just with guacamole and no meat, and the guy said, yeah, okay. Comes back with the nachos with bacon on top, and he says, yeah, but that's not meat. Then rented a condo, and already knowing how misleading things can be, I wrote an email to the agent with what I needed and would be canceling the contract in the event of certain things, one of them including the internet connection. I visited the condo and tested the internet. That was all good. But next door there was a construction, and I didn't think of it, and the construction workers had informed the management of the condo that she was part that due to this construction there was going to be no internet for 8 weeks, and she failed to tell me that, and since I work remotely, I was not prepared to have an additional expense simply because someone doesn't know what they are doing. So I left, and they were all threatening me with court, arrest. I just casually told everyone to F off. Honestly, things that can be considered common sense can be so difficult sometimes in the Pinoy land. Lastly, I see some comments saying you need someone local. They can't do nothing, or realize the people I hang with in the Philippines got so used to me I started realizing that a lot of what was going on is just not right and time consuming, that after 2 years I could see them getting concerned over 2 things they did not realize before. It's eye-opening. Aside from this person's run-off sentences, he makes some good points. Whenever you can, get things done in writing, email, text messages, and screen capture everything and the emails. Save them in case of a problem in the future. When you're renting Airbnbs, always record the condition of the unit on your phone. Make a 2 or 3 minute video detailing all the places that could possibly a problem in the future. And do the same thing when you leave. If you're renting an apartment or a condominium, always record the existence of the condition of the unit prior to leaving in case they try to put one over you, and you could shove that in their face, showing them how you left the unit prior to leaving. To be fair, and since this is the Truth and Facts channel, I will read some comments that actually say insulation is separate. Lion says, aircon installation is never free. It's usually about 7 to 8,000 for split type. You have to ask very specific questions a couple of times to see their responses. Filipinos are very indirect, non-confrontational people unless young and dumb. You have to be careful, especially in the province, because everyone knows each other and there are only a handful of other places to buy from. I one time flipped out on the nursing staff because they wouldn't release my son. My wife was mad because she knew there were only 3 main hospitals in the city. Everyone knows my name at all 3 now. The best thing to do as a foreigner is to let your wife handle it or grab a trusted local. Once you establish connections, everything is good. I know Filipinos of influence now that one phone call will solve cases. Sadly, that's the way I work here. I know to always be nice, especially as a foreigner and guest. The only part I wanted to actually talk about is the insulation part. As a couple other people have mentioned, insulation is never included in an air conditioning purchase. However, how is a foreigner supposed to know what might be common knowledge to most Filipino people? Insulation means insulation to us North Americans. It does not mean simply mounting. These are the things you need to be aware of. Always specify, because in the Philippines, something that you would consider one thing could be a complete other thing because their culture is very different. Keep those things in mind. I am not here to defend anyone or talk down to someone. I want you to realize all the sides of a situation so you are better prepared. Lastly, not all foreigners have a Filipino wife, and not all Filipino wives are competent. Most of the time, it's the other way around, since the ones that are at the lowest level and bottom of the picking pool will actually date or marry a foreigner. That's just a sad reality in most cases. Jim says, I don't know, but electrical stuff isn't usually part of the installation, especially if the item's bought in the mall. They expect you to already have a socket available nearby, and they will usually just mount it by the window type. Split type is a whole nother fiasco that has complicated and much expense installation. Have you purchased anything in the Philippines that had some issues once you bought it or took it home? Feel free to write your stories in the comment area below this video. Perhaps I'll make another one in the future. Let's take a look at yesterday's best and worst comments. The best comment from yesterday's video is from Chuck Jumer. Start a sorry and you'll be very sorry. There is no worst comment. Subscribe to the channel to spread the truth. Thanks for watching. God bless.